Hello, this is Mr. Joseph coming to you today with another short video. Just going to talk about salvation a little bit today. I thought that this would be a good time as we approach Resurrection Sunday for just the parents to get with their children and tell them about how they came to salvation. When did they make their confession of faith, and what led them to doing that, and how did that process happen? I think that's a good thing to go ahead and share with your kids today. So I'll tell you a little bit about how I came to make that confession of faith, which started basically with me recognizing my sin and what was the results of my sin, and that just how much Jesus Christ went through in pain and suffering, um, so that God's will could be done and I could be reconciled. I could be brought back together in a good relationship with God. So, as I walk the property here today on Mancy's Creek, where I live, I'm just going to try to tell you what happened. So basically, when it really hit me was I was playing a game of hide and seek. I was 9 years old. I was at my Nanny Rosa's house in Chicago. She lived in a three-story building. Um, on the bottom floor was her brother, my uncle brother, and my Aunt Judy, and then my Mama Dolly and Daddy Pep, my grandparents, lived on the second flat, and on the third flat was my Aunt Rosa. And I remember playing this game of hide and seek. And actually, I went to hide in the closet. And it was a closet that was right outside of the living room area, but we never went in there. It was like kind of like off limits, I guess, to kids. We didn't go in there, but I decided that I would hide in there that day. And in that closet, it was a very small closet. I mean, basically, you could reach your arms out and touch the walls in there. So it was very small. And I kind of was down, sitting down, kind of like in a squatting position, just kind of like sitting back by the clothes, hiding. And I was there for a while. No one was finding me. And it was quiet. It was kind of dark. There was a little bit of light coming through there, just enough. My aunt had a picture, and it was a picture of Christ, but it wasn't one of these little feminine pictures where you see Christ and he looks kind of sissified, I guess is the way to put it. He had a very feminine look on a lot of these European type paintings. It wasn't that kind of a picture. It basically kind of showed the passion of Christ. And it had, blood dripping from the head of Christ as the thorns had been pulled over his head, and he was bruised and looked bad. And had some really strange eyes on this picture that seemed to keep following me. If I moved to the side a little, it seemed like they were looking at me. And if I moved to the right a little bit, it seemed that they were looking at me. And I started remembering things that I had heard in my Sunday school and my catechism growing up about how Christ, his pain and suffering on the cross was because of our sins. It was because of everybody's sins in that day. It was because of the present day sins, and it was because of the future sins. So that would include us. And how it was told to me was that my sins, every time Jesus was whipped, it was because of a sin that I did. And every time that a nail was pushed through his hands was because of a sin that I did. And every time a spike was driven through his feet was because of a sin that I did. And every bad remark that was made to him and stripping him from his clothes and shaming him was because of the sins that I did. And I basically got down on my knees and I began to cry and I began to say, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do this to you. Forgive me, Lord. I know that I've sinned, and because of my sins, this was done to you. Is there any way that you can forgive me for these sins? So that was the time that I first recognized that I was a sinner. I repented from those sins. I didn't understand the full picture. I knew that Jesus was the Son of God, and I knew that he died for our sins. And I understood all that. I didn't have the true big picture, but I knew enough that he was God. I feared him, and I was sorry for what I did, and I wanted to be forgiven. And I was asking him to come to my life and to forgive me and to just have mercy on me, basically, because I was in fear of, man, I was thinking, wow, if somebody had done that to me, what would I have done in retaliation to them? I wasn't fully understanding that. He basically willingly accepted that. He did it because of his love for me, not because I loved him. God actually loved me before I loved him. So he was able to do that, took his place. He did not sin, but he took my place for sin, and he did it all because he loved me. And that was the time when I first came to Jesus Christ. And I was in 4th grade, and I later made a public confession of my faith in front of the church, and I was led to Christ at that time. So I don't know what your story is. Tell your story. Let your kids know what it is. And I wish I had let them know years ago when they were small how I came to Christ, just so that they would know about it. So until the next time, Christ be with you.